So this is the first example of the 5D process on the back of your 1.1.3 worksheet. So let's start this out. First of all, the 5D process is an organized method to help write equations and solve problems. The D's stand for describe and draw, define, do, decide, and declare. An example is shown below. So I'm going to do the first example with you. So first of all, when you do word problems, you have to read them several times. And you may have to read them as many as 5 times, depending on how complex the problem is. So let's go ahead and read this the first time just to find out what it's about. A box of fruit has 3 times as many nectarines as apples. Together, there are 36 pieces of fruit. How many pieces of each type of fruit are there? Okay, so we know it's about fruit, different types of fruit, and we know it has to do with the quantities of fruit. So this time, when I read through the problem, I am going to underline anything that has to do with quantities or with fruit. Okay, let's start again. A box of fruit has 3 times as many nectarines. Okay, that's important. 3 times as many nectarines. And we know it's in a box. 3 times as many nectarines as apples. Okay, there's the other kind of fruit. So we've got nectarines, apples, and we know more about how many nectarines there are. So if we know how many apples there are, then we know there are 3 times as many nectarines as apples. Okay, so there are more nectarines. Just make a note of that. Than apples. Together, there are 36 pieces of fruit. Okay, so 36 pieces of fruit is our total. So I'm going to put that there too. Okay, how many pieces of each type of fruit are there? Okay, that's what they really want to know. They want to know how many apples, and they want to know how many nectarines. Okay, so describe and draw, we've kind of done that already. So we've described up here. We've taken this and put it into our own words. So I'm not going to do that step this time. All right, so let's go down here. Well, this is great. They've already put in here what is supposed to be in here. So that's not usually the case. So the reason they chose apples to be in the first column is because apples are the fruit that we know the least about. So they want us to figure out how many apples and how many nectarines, but we really know nothing about how many apples. But when it comes to nectarines, we know there are 3 times as many nectarines as there are apples. So we know something about how many nectarines there are. Okay, so let's go ahead and make apples our variable, x. That's what we know the least about. And then we know that there are 3 times as many apples. So we can make our nectarines 3 times x, because it's 3 times as many nectarines. All right, and then total pieces of fruit will be apples plus nectarines. So let's go x plus 3x. And that will give us what our total pieces of fruit are. And then we'll compare that to 36, and we will decide whether or not we are correct. Because that is what we're going to do now. We're going to guess. So we're going to start out with a guess of 10. That's a nice even number. So x is 10. The number of nectarines would be 3 times 10, so 30. And then we would add those together to get the pieces of fruit. So apples would be 10, plus the number of nectarines, which is 30. And together that is 40. Uh-oh. So that's too many. So too many. That doesn't work. So we need to go down a little. Well, maybe we'll go down to 5 and see what happens. Okay, so if we go down to 5, 3 times 5 is 15. 5 plus, so that's 5 here, the nectarines, 15. That would be 20. Oops, 20 compared to 36, that is too few. All right, well, we were closer when we were up to 40. So maybe this time we'll just take 9, because that's very close to 10, but it's lower, because 10 was too many. So 3 times 9 is equal to 27. 9 plus 27 is equal to 36. There we go. It's the same. Okay, so this is just right. We have our answer. So now we can make our declaration. And to figure out how to set up our declaration, we can go back up to the question, which is how many types of fruit? How many apples? How many nectarines? So we can say there are 9 apples and 27 nectarines. Oops. In a box, because we know that it's in a box of fruit. Okay, we're done.